Hi everyone, welcome to this new video. My name is Aditya and on this channel I talk about Kubernetes, blockchain and software engineering in general. And in today's video we are going to take a look how we can create kubectl plugins with the help of Golang. So in the previous video we saw like how we can use uh, shell scripts to create those kubectl plugins. But in today's video we will be going to use Go as the programming language to create those plugins. And in the last video, I discussed about like what kubectl plugin is and how you can, what should be the naming convention for those kubectl plugin and how you can distribute those kubectl plugin with the help of Crew. So for this demonstration, we are going to use Golang along with Cobra. So Cobra is a Golang package which you can use to create the CLI application. So let's start by creating the Golang project. So I have already opened this project into one directory and my ID as well. And let's first initialize the project. So let me just do go mod init, and I'm going to name this plugin as kubectl decode, and it should create a go mod file in my folder structure. And now let's create a file with name main.go, and let me just name this package as main. And here we can start writing our plugin. So let's do one more thing. Let's first write the main function here, and let's do one more thing. Let's create some packages. So what we are going to do, we are going to use basically the client go library to connect to the Kubernetes cluster and basically fetch those secrets and then try to decode them, right? So let me just create a package here, and I'll call that package as client, and yeah, client, and then I can just name the file as client.go. And here we can just create a function which should return us the Kate client instance. So I can just do Kate client, and we have to add a couple of libraries. Like we have to add the client go library, and we're going to add one more library which is this CLI runtime, so that we can get the instance of instance of client. So let me just add those library first here. So I can do go get. And let's do one thing. Let me just open my browser so that we can actually get the client go library. So let me open my browser here, and I can search for client go Kubernetes, and this is where you can basically get the detail about this library. I can just copy this and I can do go get and then this library, and this should be added in my go mod file as well here. It downloaded the package, and let's start creating the what you say, the Kate client. So I'm going to use the generic CLI options to get the CLI client. Let me add the import statement here, so I can just simply import the dependency here like this, and I should be able to call the functions of this. So I can do, I need to sync the dependency as well. So the dependencies got downloaded. Now I should be able to use dot options dot, and here I can look for new config flag, and here I can use persistent as true. So I can just pass the true, and here I can just call the to rest config. So this should return me the config. Let's try to handle the error case and config. Let me here do simply panic out if we get an error, and let's use this config to create the instance. So here I can do Kubernetes dot new for config, and here I can pass the config object that we got, and this should return us the client and error as well. So for error we can just do simply panic out the error, and this should be the client, and I can just simply return that client. We need to add the return here as well. Yep, I think we are good here, and now we can use this Kate client object to basically interact with the Kubernetes cluster. Let me create one more package here, and I'll call it as CMD, where I'm going to put my cobra commands. So I can just name one file as well, root.go inside the CMD package, and here we can so let's write a function here which where we will be defining our cobra command. So let me just call that function as new kubectl decode CMD, and here we can basically use the cobra. So let me just open my browser and search for cobra golang. So this is the package which we are going to use. It's basically a way to create CLI applications in the Go, and let's quickly add the dependency for that first. So you can just simply copy this and run this in your terminal to get the dependency. This should download the Cobra package in our project, and from then we can basically start using this package. So I can create a variable here. I can just call it as root CMD, and what I can do, I can just say cobra command, and basically here I can pass those parameters that we wish to set. So we have one parameter called use, and basically this is the name of the command that you want to give, right? So we want to have the command something like kubectl decode, so I can just simply give the name here as decode, and then I can set aliases here as well, like alternatives to this. So in the aliases we can, like, I want to have the alias as decodes. Like we can use this command with the help of either decode or decodes. If user passes decode, it should work. And then we can give the short description here as well, and I can just give decode secret as my description, and we can give the long description as well. So I think the parameter for that is long, and here I can just give decode Kubernetes secrets, and this should be good to start with, and I can just simply return this as well. So I can just simply return root CMD. Let me put the return flag here, and then we can just call this to from the main. So let me just call this function, and again this should be coming from CMD package. So this looks fine, and now it basically returns us the error as well. So let's do one thing. Let me just put an if statement here. If error, and if we have an error, then what I can do, I can panic out, or I can just log that error. So I can simply log that error as a fatal error, right? And now let's try to build this application and run this. So let's do go build. So it should create a binary here, and now let's try to run that binary. We can just do kubectl decode. So it returns us something. And let's try to do one more thing. Let's add a function here which should which should run when we actually call this function, or when we actually call this command. So for now, let me just simply return nil here. And what we can do, let me just do one more thing. Let me add a version here as well, and this is a string, so I can give version something like that. And now let's try to build this again. Let's run this. and here let me just do run hyphen help. Okay, I think, okay, okay, we forgot to do one thing. We forgot to execute this function. So here we have to call execute as well. Uh, that is when it should be able to run. So now let's build this plugin again and let's try to run this. Yeah, so here you can see when I passed hyphen help. So this hyphen flag, this flag was already handled by the Cobra CLI. And here you can see we are getting description as well. Like this is the long description that we gave, and then here is the usage section, like how you can use it. Then you can see the aliases that we configured, and then you can see some couple of other flags as well. Let's do hyphen version as well, just to see if we are getting the version that we specified. Yes, so we get the version here as well. And now let's do one more thing. Let's here write the implementation, like to basically get the secrets, right? And so let me write a function here, and I will call that function as get or decode secret. And basically this will be needing that secret name, so I can just call secret name. That will be a string. And yep, and let's here try to get that gate client object and basically call the Kubernetes API to get the secret. So I can just run here client, and this should come from client package, and here I can call client dot core v1 then secret, and here we have to specify this namespace as well. So let's do the same thing like what we did in the bash plugin as well, like we were expecting user to pass the namespace as well. So for now let me just give it as empty, and here we can just do get. So we need to provide the context, so I can do context dot background, and then we have to provide the name of the secret that we want to fetch. So secret name is already provided to us by this function argument, so we can just pass that secret name. And here we have to provide the third option, which is get option. So I can just simply import that package here. Let me call it as meta v1 and here I can just do gate API machinery and then package, and then it should come from API and then meta. And here I can just use meta v1 dot get options. Okay, why we are not getting that? We have to give v1 as well, I guess, here. And if I do get options here now, okay, it should be from, I think, APIs, not from API. It should be from APIs and then meta v1, right? And here I can now do get options. Yes, and I can just leave this as empty, and this will return us the secret and the error. So I can just call this as secret, and for error what I can do, I can just simply return the error as well, right? And here I can just give the return type as error. Okay, I think we are good here. We just need to basically handle the secret now, and this secret has those data and other secret related properties. So I can just simply call that function from here, and let me just call the decode function here. And one more thing, like we want the plugin to run something like this, right? We want to have plugin something like this, kubectl decode, and then user should be able to give the secret name here. So this is an argument to the plugin, so we can access that using this args parameter. So what I can do, I can just simply pass the args of 0, and yes, and here I can just return whatever I am getting, because I have to return error from here. So I can just simply return whatever this function returns me, and here as well I can just do return nil in case of no error. And let's do one thing. Let's try to uh, play with this secret. So let me just write a for loop here, and this should be secret dot. So this has a property called data, which actually contains the secret, and I can just call this as value, and this would be my key. And let's try to print that out. Fmt dot print, and let's try to print the key first and value as well, right? Let's try to do this much. Let's try to build the plugin and run it again. Go build. Okay, so plugin is built now, and we can just call this plugin, and let's try to do this thing. Let's see if we have a cluster ready or not. So I can just do, I can set an alias, and I can do, let's see if we have secrets or not. So let me just first export my kube config. And now let's try to run that get secrets. Yep, so I have secrets now, and let's take the secret in the default namespace and try to decode that. So this is the secret name, and now we can run the plugin along with the secret name. So the plugin name is kubectl decode, and then we can give the name of secret name, right? So let me just run this, and it gave us an error that an empty namespace may not be accessed, so we have to give the namespace here as well. For now, let's try to give the namespace as default, but we'll look for a way like how we can pass that dynamically, right? How we can allow user to pass that namespace dynamically. Let's run this. Yep, so it returns us something, but I think this is in a byte format. So what we can do, we can just simply convert this byte to string, and after this it should be good. So we don't need to decode this into base 64, because this is already decoded into the base 64 like in the plain text, so we don't have to do that. Now let's try to run this again. We should see key and value as well, right? So if you observe this carefully, this part is the key, and then after this is the value part of the secret. Let's do one thing. Let me just format this properly so that we can visualize this better. I can do %s, and then again I can do %s, and this should be print f. Yep. So this should work, and let's now look for a way like how we can allow user to pass the namespace. So the idea here is that we should ask the user to pass the namespace something like this, where user can pass the -n flag, and then he can pass the namespace something like this. So we want user to uh, use the plugin something like this, where he can pass the namespace. So in Cobra, this CLI, we have an option of setting up the flags, so we can use that to set the flags. So let me just use root cmd dot flags, and then here I can set the string. I can set the string p var p, this one. So this expects some parameter from us, and we have to provide some parameter, like we have to provide the name of the flag, shorthand for that flag, the value, the default value, and a description, short description, and we also have to provide the like where this value should get stored. So let me do one thing. Let me just create a struct here. Let me create a struct with name options, and here I can just put a field called namespace, which is a string, and what I can do, I can simply use it here. So before that, let me create an instance of that option. Let me call it as opts, and I can just do options, right, like something like this, and here I can reference that. I can do opts dot namespace, so that value should be set here, and here we have to give the reference here, and then we have to give the name of, you know, parameter or flag. So I will call it as namespace, and then I can give the shorthand, which is I want to give -n as the shorthand, and then I can give the description here, or so I have to give that value like the default value. So if user is not providing something, then this default value should be considered as the value for this particular variable. So the default value that I want to give is default, and let's give the description here. So I can give the description namespace or secret namespace. Secret namespace. I can have something like that, and here I can access that this parameter ops.namespace. So for this I have to pass this struct here, and then this should also accept this ops. So I can do option something like this here, and here now I can use opt.namespace. So this looks good to me. Let's try to build the plugin and let's try to run it. So meanwhile this plugin is kind of building, I would like highly recommend you to go through the docs of this Cobra package. It will give you like very good insight like how you can create your application and how you can add sub commands to it. So the plugin is ready, and now we can call that plugin. So we can do kubectl decode, and here we can pass the namespace as well. Let's give the namespace as default, because this token exists into the default namespace, and we are missing something like hyphen and shorthand is more than one ASCII character. Okay, let's try to see what happened here. Oh, so it should be n only, not the hyphen n. Let's build the plugin again. So hyphen n is what we have to provide, but the shorthand is n obviously. So the plugin is ready. We can just run this now. Yep, so we can see we are getting the data here, and we are getting the key and then colon and then the value. What we can do, we can just put slash in here as well, because right now what I can see that the next key immediately starts from here. Let us assume this one, that this was the namespace value, but the next attribute in the secret, it started immediately. So I think slash n should solve this problem. And let's do one more thing. Let's this time not to pass this hyphen and flag, and we should see that it is taking the default value, right? The value which was provided by default in the plugin. And let's do one more thing, like how we can see that what is the default value that we have given. So we can just do kubectl decode, and then we can give hyphen help. It should show us what all flags that we can pass and their default values as well, right? So here we can see that we can see one more flag, which is hyphen n, that we just added, and you can use hyphen namespace as well. And this is the description that we provided here, and we can see the default value for this flag is default, right? So I think we are good here, and we can also provide some example commands here in the Cobra command. So we can just do example, and we can provide some example what we had. So let me just use the same example. Let me use this command as my example reference here. And what I'll do here, I'll simply use kubectl, because this plugin is a kubectl plugin, and so we can basically put this binary into our path variable, and we should be able to access this along with the help of kubectl. So let's do this thing. Let me just now build this plugin again, and then we should put this binary into the path variable, and we should be able to use it along with the kubectl. Let's quickly build this. So build is done. Now let's export this, export our path, and now this plugin should be available into the path variable. So what we can do, we can just do kubectl decode, and I can just run --help. So everything goes well. Yep, here we can see we are getting the example as well that we provided here. We can see the aliases that we have. We can use how to use it, and then we can see our flags as well, like the namespace flag as well, right? And now let's try to actually call this plugin. So I'm going to use this particular example here only. Let's run this, and we should able to see those secrets in the decoded format, right? So we can see their key and the corresponding value in the plain text, right? So this is good. Like, I think we have covered like what we wanted to achieve in this video, and you can like pretty much use Go and this Cobra package to extend this plugin. You can do a lot of things into the with the Golang. You can have sub commands here as well with the help of Cobra, and you don't need to manage multiple files for that, right? This is the beauty of having Cobra as a CLI manager for us. Yep. So this is what I wanted to share in this video, and the source code you can find in the GitHub, and the link for that will be provided into the video description. And if you like this video, then please give a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. And you can follow me on LinkedIn and Twitter as well. So link for both of them you can find in the video description. And I will see you in the next one.